Republicans try to focus America's attention on the southern border ahead of a new wave of illegal immigration. While the Biden administration blames Republicans for the debt ceiling, but Republicans and Democrats agree the future of America is at stake. Good evening, I'm Leland Vittert. Republican governors see the Biden administration on the ropes right now. With the lowest poll numbers of his administration, and today, the governors landed a brutal right hook on the president's perceived weakness, immigration. A reported 60,000 migrants are heading to America's southern border, lured by the Biden administration's treatment of the Haitians who lived under a bridge in Del Rio, Texas, and are now free in the United States to pursue their American dream. Here are some of the president's messages in the past to those heading north.
Yes, I should be flattered. People are coming because I'm the nice guy. That's the reason why it's happening.
Providing a pathway for 11 million undocumented, and I'm going to make sure every dreamer is protected. You come to the United States and you make your case.
All right, so we have come over to the monitor to show you where those 60,000 are right now here in the Darien Gap coming up through Panama. Transitioning Panama and headed for southern Mexico. So they'll come across here into southern Mexico. This is Del Rio, Texas, where they came before. There's thoughts that this caravan may head up here to Yuma, Arizona. We'll talk about that in a minute. The key right now is the town of Tapachula, where they will then caravan north from. Our Next Start colleagues at Border Report say that a caravan will leave on October 25th from right here. It takes a few weeks to get north. You might remember the bridge crisis in Del Rio ended when the Mexican National Guard got involved and cut off the flow of migrants to the border. Well, meet Arino Michuca, a well-known caravan leader. He said in a tweeted video, "We prefer to march with travel papers, and this time with papers or without papers, we are ready for war. If the National Guard, meaning the Mexican National Guard, comes and they are cowardly enough to beat women and children, let them prepare because God's hand is with us." You would think that given all this information, the Biden administration would be sending for reinforcements and sending them to the border, lobbying perhaps the governments of South and Central America to deal with the problem. Not so. Axios reports the Panamanian foreign minister told them her country tried. This is the words of the Panamanian foreign minister. "We've engaged every single authority that we can think of, that we can come across to say, please, let's pay attention to this." Republican governors had much the same message. Please pay attention to this, saying that the fentanyl and other drugs coming across the southern border flood their states thousands of miles away. Now, that Republican photo op that you just saw comes as President Biden tries to blame Republicans in Washington for the looming debt ceiling and possible government default.
My Republican friends need to stop playing Russian roulette with the U.S. economy. If they don't want to do the job, just get out of the way.
Republicans counter they are out of the way since Democrats control the House, the Senate, and the White House.
The leadership skills of people who spent 2.5 months doing nothing and then complain they're short on time.
Now, immigration and debt ceiling are on a collision course. Niall Stanage in Washington with how the White House plans to try and flip the script on Republicans who may have just blinked. But we start with Markey Martin traveling with those governors in Mission, Texas. And Markey, you saw firsthand this morning just what the problem is.
Yeah, hey, Leland, this morning about 6 a.m. we were setting up right here for Morning in America, and all of a sudden we saw this flurry of activity, Border Patrol vans, flashlights, agents starting to look for these migrants in these tall grasses right here to my left. Before you knew it, 3 migrants had been apprehended, and we have video from that this morning. You see those 3 adults on the ground. Leland, what you don't see in this video, that van full of migrants, so probably about 10 to 13. And then about 8 o'clock, right before our last live hit of the morning morning, 2 migrants jumped this border wall right behind me. The chain link fence portion ran into the thicket. But this kind of illegal activity, this is exactly what those Republican governors were honing in on. And they came from an array of states today. You had Arizona, you had Oklahoma, Wyoming, Idaho, just to name a few. A lot of them, as you'll notice, from Middle America. And they say all of those states are impacted by what's happening here at the border, especially because of the influx of drugs.
To give you just one mathematical example, and that is just the amount of fentanyl apprehended just by the Texas Department of Public Safety just this year is more than enough to kill every man, woman, and child in the states of Texas, California, and New York.
Yeah, pretty frightening. And the governor also, all of them today, offered up 10 action items, not plans, actions that they are taking in order to fortify these borders and alleviate this pressure. Everything from asking the Biden administration to continue the construction work on this border wall that was started during the Trump presidency, all the way to deploying more federal agents to the southern border. Leland.
Yeah, when we were down there on the border, and I'm sure not far from where you are, we saw there's tens of miles of border wall waiting to be built that has not been built because of the administration's freeze. Markey, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Good to see you. All right, now we head to this major talking point for these Republican governors. If the administration won't address mass migration at the southern border, they will. Joining us now to talk about the political side of all this, Niall Stanage, White House columnist for our partners at The Hill. Niall, we've got these two competing crises. Who wins the political debate in Washington on this?
I think that is the exact point, Leland. The party that wins is the party that gets the focus onto its favored subject. For Republicans, that clearly is immigration and migration. I think that's part of the reason why we saw that news conference. Migration is basically President Biden's worst issue. So the White House wants to, frankly, avoid talking about that if they can do so.
You think about the president's poll numbers right now. He needs everything he can to change the conversation, if you will. This is the Real Clear Politics average, which means the latest polls are actually below this. We're going to get to those in a few minutes. But he is now, for the first time in his presidency, below 45%. How worried is the White House that they just need a win?
Well, ostensibly, the White House will tell you that they understand that poll numbers fluctuate. President Biden has been in politics for many decades and understands that. But look, the stakes for what is happening on Capitol Hill right now are huge. The Biden administration has essentially all the chips on the table when it comes to its domestic agenda, and they really need a win in that because of several things that have gone wrong recently.
Yeah, you think about, namely, Afghanistan and then obviously immigration. Conceivably, there's that new crisis coming. We've got this sort of interim crisis, which is the debt ceiling. Here was Jen Psaki earlier. I know you saw the briefing. Take a listen.
Even the scant details that have been reported present more complicated, more difficult options than the one that is quite obvious in the president's view and is in front of the faces of every member up on the Hill. We could get this done today. We don't need to kick the can. We don't need to go through a cumbersome process that every day brings additional risks.
Do Democrats really think, in the White House, really think they're going to win on the debt ceiling when they control the House, the Senate, and the White House?
It's interesting that there's actually a Democratic divide on this topic, Leland. Democratic senators are actually fine with kicking the can down the road, it appears. They look poised to seize upon an offer from Mitch McConnell, the Republican leader in the Senate, to lift the ceiling for a couple of months. That is very much at odds with the tone that Jen Psaki just took there, where she was complaining about that idea.
So I'll go back to sort of where we started, which is you've got a president with falling poll numbers and now a divided Democratic Party on the debt ceiling and on the president's domestic agenda. And they think, the White House thinks heading into negotiations in that way is helpful, is going to work. What's the plan?
I don't know if they consider it as helpful or not, but they want the president to try to position himself as someone who is transcending these democratic divisions. They're trying to paint him as the person who can bring the party together. Now, is it possible to bring Bernie Sanders and Joe Manchin or Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and some of the House moderate Democrats together? That's a pretty tough ask, but that's what the White House is betting on.
Has there been the discussion yet of we just need a win, it kind of doesn't matter what it is, and that maybe they decide to go talk to Republicans and try to get bipartisan infrastructure passed by itself, in some way be the elder statesman that the president's talked about?
There is a desire to get a win of some description, but I think because of everything that has gone on, the idea of a bipartisan infrastructure bill seems to be sort of slipping away. It has become so tethered to the idea of the larger social spending package. So in that regard, I think the White House is desperate for a win, but I think it understands that that victory, if it comes, will come almost entirely along party lines.
Now, we were just looking at the 10 governors at the border who no doubt enjoy having the attention of the crisis on the border rather than the crises in D.C. Niall, great conversation as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Leland.
Yeah, great to see you.
These problems are solvable. A safer, free speech respecting, more enjoyable social media is possible.
Dare to dream, perhaps. That's Facebook whistleblower Frances Haugen talking yesterday about her vision for the future of Facebook. Tonight, Facebook's CEO says her accusations don't make any sense. But more importantly, we've had a 60-minute segment, salivating media coverage and nationally televised Senate hearings with her as the star witness. Have we really learned anything? Other than the fact that Facebook likes to make money. Perhaps it's akin to a whistleblower reporting that Coca-Cola puts sugar in soda because it tastes good, and thus people buy more soda. Luke Rosiak reports on these things and joins us now from the Daily Wire. Luke, good to see you. We appreciate it. 24 hours later, Frances is the darling of the left-wing media and perhaps a number of senators, even on the right as well. But has anything changed?
I don't know what we can expect to change. I mean, this is a woman who my investigation suggests has a long record of sort of wokeness and identity politics agitation. She's sort of blown the whistle, if you want to call it that, at previous employers. She claimed that Google wasn't inclusive enough because it had more what she called transsexuals than it did women. So she was dissatisfied by that. She does a lot of sort of racial identity politics stuff at Pinterest. She made a feature where you can search by skin color, which I find kind of creepy. So this is basically a left-wing agitator. She's made 20-plus campaign contributions, including to those Democratic senators and to AOC. And it's not an organic whistleblower coming forward. She's actually working with Democratic operatives, including Jen Psaki's PR firm.
So does that mean we should discredit everything that she's saying? And if what she's saying is true, does it matter who she gave money to or what she's complained about in the past?
What she's saying should be discredited on its face because it's absurd. Basically what she's saying is Facebook is too conservative. This is a tech company in Silicon Valley staffed almost entirely by Democrats, and she's mad that they didn't censor enough conservative speech. They censored a lot of it, but she thinks they should censor more. She says they only censored about 3% of the problematic content. So when you look at Facebook, do you think they should censor 33 times more content? Like when your uncle posts something.
It's odd because I know you at the Daily Wire, you guys have taken shots at Facebook and complained at various times about how they've done things. This is a Facebook executive. You may agree with her. Take a listen.
I can't speculate on her motives, but I can say she didn't work on these issues, and her testifying about them and mischaracterizing some of the documents she stole is like if a journalist were to read another journalist's story, a colleague's story, and say, oh, I'm an expert on this. I mean, she's not an expert in these areas.
So if she's not an expert, why is everyone holding her out to be?
because, you know, there's a bunch of old people on Capitol Hill who don't understand how computers work, and they think because she's an engineer, she has insight into it. But these aren't technical issues. They're political issues. Matters of politics are not cut and dry. There aren't arbiters who can tell us what's right and what's wrong. What she's trying to do is, and you heard it on the Capitol Hill testimony, she says Facebook is producing a divided America. That's not the case. The problem is that Facebook is democratic with a lowercase d. It's reflecting America. Facebook is where you can share what you believe and you can choose what news content you want.
And in a way,
what
it's
she's
also
mad at is that some Americans are conservative.
Well, yeah, and also Facebook is reflective of a capitalistic America. They figured out how to make money and drive engagement, and that's what businesses do. Luke, keep up the reporting and come back and talk to us about it, all right?
Thank you.
All right. Well, the nation's most secretive agency is running short on spies. Well, we're going to talk about the not-so-secret problems of the CIA. Plus, people are getting denied life-saving transplants because of their vaccine status. Well, how short-sighted is that? We'll discuss with a lawyer when we come back. Now, the next time you go to the emergency room, your care might depend on whether you are vaccinated or not, even if you're not sick with COVID. Right now, things are not that explicit, but it could be coming. For example, in Colorado, one hospital system is denying transplants to the unvaccinated. Meet Leilani Lutuli, an unvaccinated woman in stage 5 renal failure.
I feel like I'm being coerced into not being able to wait and see, and that I have to take the shot if I want this life-saving transplant. If I'm not allowed to get a transplant, basically my life is in jeopardy.
All right. She's from Denver, Colorado, says she may have to go to a different state, doesn't know what she's going to do to get care. Obviously, she has a donor available for the transplant. Robert Schalk, former prosecutor, current attorney, practicing. All right. Would you want Lulani's case against the hospital on this one, Robert?
Well, I think at a minimum, she should seek legal counsel to try to get a temporary restraining order, TRO as it's known, or file a notice of claim, trying to stop this policy from being enacted. And even if it doesn't help her a bit, it may affect someone in the future because they're trying to enact a vaccination, even though there's a history of requiring vaccinations for other things to get a transplant, a vaccine that's been around for less than a year. Yes, there have been studies, but have there been enough studies to require this? And she's doing it on a religious basis. She's saying it's her freedom of religion is being violated, and she's seeking a religious exemption. So she definitely has a case, in my opinion, to try to seek an injunction to stop this from happening so that she can get the critical care that she needs, for sure.
Okay, so there's two issues here, because in the past, hospitals have been able to say, look, if you want a liver transplant, you got to stop drinking. If you want a heart transplant, you got to lose weight. Is this different because of the religious nature?
Yeah, I think so, for sure, because again, this is being mandated by, in certain situations in states and by hospitals. They're not mandating you stop drinking. They're not mandating you lose weight. I mean, literally, how can they prove that you're stopping to drink? It's like the honor system to require these things. To ask someone to get a vaccine for a religious exemption that, again, is so new to everybody, where they're saying that they're citing studies that show that it's dangerous to get a transplant and COVID. Again, we've only known about COVID for a year and a half with regards to the vaccines and the side effects. Do they have enough to deny this woman? I think she definitely would have a good foot to file a suit, for sure.
So one state rep, it appears, is already trying to get involved. Take a listen to him.
I've had the opportunity to talk with UC Health directly, by phone, by email, and they refuse to make accommodations or exceptions to their policy. The individual actually has tested positive for the immunity. She already has those antibodies, those COVID antibodies on board, and that's demonstrated through documentation. And still, UC Health is refusing to render this type of care, this type of life-saving care.
Again, if we look forward on this, conceivably, this is not the end, but the beginning of vaccine mandates as it relates to healthcare. Does a doctor have a right to say, I'm not going to treat you if you're not vaccinated?
I mean, let's just go back to the Hippocratic oath that they swore to uphold when they became doctors, to treat people who need critical care. These are people at the very top of transplant lists who need critical care and need help. Okay, you can obviously have lawyers draft waivers. There are lawyers for every hospital where you can enact a system where if this individual is refusing the vaccine and has an individual willing to give them a kidney transplant, you can have documents drafted. The person is willing to waive any lawsuits. I'm sure it's a liability question that they're worried about, but you can work through this.
Well, hold on. I want to stop you one second. Is it a liability issue, or is this more of a trying to force the vaccine on everybody issue?
I would say it's a combination of the two, but when push comes to shove as a lawyer, I always believe it's going to be a liability issue because I look at it from a monetary standpoint. How is an attorney going to come after a hospital with deep pockets, tons of money and insurance that they can recover if there's a malpractice case? So they're definitely worried about a malpractice situation. And I think they're obviously pushing an agenda of mandating vaccines for certain individuals who are reluctant.
All right. Well, we don't know if she's watching the segment, but if she gets legal counsel, there'll be a lot to talk about, won't there? Thank you, Robert.
Thanks, Leland.
All right. Get this. An ESPN anchor has been taken off the air for comments about a former president. Were her opinions worth her job? And the leaked phone call is shaking up the Virginia's governor's race. What Terry McAuliffe got caught saying. There's the poll numbers. Virginia's governor race, which is happening in just a couple of weeks for the election, is seen as a crucial bellwether. Now, Democratic candidate Terry McAuliffe got caught saying the quiet part out loud. President Biden is not exactly helping him. This was during a Zoom call with his supporters. Take a listen.
But we got to get Democrats out to vote. We are facing a lot of headwinds from Washington. As you know, the president is unpopular today, unfortunately, here in Virginia, so we have got to plow through.
Terry McAuliffe was in the very bottom part of your screen there. This is a brand new Quinnipiac poll, shows Biden's approval nationally falling to its lowest level yet, 38-53, with 53% of Americans now disapproving of his performance. As for the Virginia race, a new poll from our own Nexstar Media and Emerson College shows Terry McAuliffe now in a dead heat with Republican Glenn Youngkin. By the way, Biden won Virginia by 10 points against President Trump last year. With that, we bring in Larry Sabato, director of the University of Virginia's Center for Politics. Larry, good to see you. I guess sometimes you do have to say the quiet part out loud, right?
Oh, yeah. And McAuliffe has already hinted at this several times publicly. What he said is not exactly a headline. If McAuliffe loses in Virginia, which has become quite blue, it's going to be because Biden and the Democrats in Congress have made a giant mess of these two bills that we are all familiar with, plus maybe the resurgence of COVID and some other things. But it hasn't been pretty. And they keep saying, well, this won't affect the midterms. We'll have lots of time to recover. Guess what? There is a midterm election. It's Tuesday, November 2nd this year, and it's Virginia governor, and they may pay a price right here.
Nothing happens in a vacuum, right? And you look at the latest polling, we break it down by gender. And this probably isn't a huge surprise, but women voters favor McAuliffe and male voters favor Youngkin. But what's happening in Washington right now, at least vis-a-vis the Biden agenda, is disasterful for the president right now. If Terry McAuliffe loses and Youngkin wins, what does that do to the rest of the next 3 or 4 months for President Biden?
Well, it makes them unpleasant if you can have unpleasant months being president. I mean,
fair.
They have lots of perks, Lee. They've got Camp David that can get away from it all. But look, I would say this, while it's impossible to project a year in advance, it certainly isn't a good sign for Democrats in the midterm elections next November when the entire House, a third of the Senate, and 36 governors are on the ballot. In fact, I would say probably it's going to severely damage Democratic ability to raise money. It's going to damage their fundraising. It's going to damage morale, and it's going to infect all the punditry. You know, what you and I do, what we say will be affected by this.
No kidding. You're the pundit. Please Please, could never dare to put myself in such an elite group of people. Just ask the questions here. One question, though, I never thought I was going to ask you a question about Taylor Swift, but I'm going to, okay? Because somehow Taylor Swift is playing a role in this election. Terry McAuliffe is now running ads saying that Youngkin tried to buy Taylor Swift's record label and keep her voice down and therefore vote for Terry McAuliffe. Now, he's gotten way more earned media out of this than what it cost him to do that, because now he's brought Taylor Swift into the whole thing. But here's a Variety reporter last night talking about the fear that Youngkin should have of the Swifties. Take a listen.
If there is going to be any topic that will get her fans riled up and might get them to the polls, it would be this. But, you know, it's always a toss-up if there is a link between getting people to the polls and those celebrities that they follow. Sometimes it works, but most of the times it doesn't.
All right. That's the entertainment reporter. What does the director of the Virginia Center for Politics say?
Well, you're asking the wrong generation, Lee. I do know who Taylor Swift is. I can't tell you much beyond that. I know she's popular with many of my students, but no, I'm sorry. On the day after the election, I really don't think we'll even be mentioning this factor one way or the other. It's an interesting little sidelight, but that's all it is.
All right. A rational voice in this conversation, Larry. It's why we have you. Back to sort of where we are with this as the bellwether. How similar is what we're seeing right now in Virginia to what we saw in 2009 during the beginning of the Obama administration?
Well, there are similarities in that was the last year Republicans won the governorship in Virginia. They've lost ever since. They've lost everything, Senate and president and all the rest. So if Youngkin wins, we'll obviously be comparing it to 2009 when Bob McDonnell was elected governor of Virginia. A lot of the conditions are different, but you're right to note Obama was a Democratic president, and we all know who his vice president was, Joe Biden, who's president now. Both of them were or are in their first year as president. And we'll do what pundits always do. And you're not a pundit, but I'm a pundit. We'll do what pundits always do, which is exaggerate every possible comparison. And so expect that to happen. We'll talk about Biden and Obama and how everything is very similar. And of course it isn't, but it will carry us through a week.
Well, Larry, we have you on because you don't exaggerate. You are the voice of sanity and reason among the craziness of politics. And you proved it once again today. It's good to see you, my friend.
Wonderful, Lee. Great to see you. Good luck with the show.
Thanks. All the best. The CIA is making a stunning admission about the plight of informants, otherwise known as spies, recruited from other countries to help the United States. This is the New York Times reporting that officials issued a memo to all CIA stations worldwide, warning that dozens of CIA informants have been killed or arrested or compromised in recent years, and that countries such as Russia, China, Iran, and Pakistan have been hunting down CIA sources and in some cases turning them into double agents. The recent collapse of Afghanistan's proved another challenge for the CIA in trying to learn about Pakistan's ties to the Taliban. Chad Sweet, former chief of staff for the Department of Homeland Security, also a former case officer with the Central Intelligence Agency, joining us from Washington. Chad, should we be surprised by this?
Well, I think no, in one respect, which is that we look at the advances in technology, whether it's facial recognition, biometric scans for fingerprints, and other forms of artificial intelligence combined with cyber hacking and surveillance. It's just much harder to do human today than it was even 5 years ago. And you couple that with what just happened in Afghanistan, where there are a number of sources that had nothing to do with Afghanistan but were recruited there that had implications globally. Those two factors, collide, and you've got a recipe for a field day for some of our adversarial intelligence services.
You come at this from a unique perspective because you work both on the front line and then also you were at the very upper echelons of another government agency, obviously not the CIA, but DHS. Mm-hmm. You had to think that when the CIA wrote this memo to every station worldwide and every U.S. embassy, they had to think it was going to leak or at least have that possibility. Why write it?
Well, I think it's a cost-benefit analysis that there is definitely a cost to revealing this. They had to know our adversaries would potentially find out. But at the end of the day, it's revealing a reality that they already know. And so I think the cost-benefit analysis was we have to up our game. And right now, what I think is important is actually in the world of new technology, the United States is a leader. So we should be actually taking this and flipping it to our advantage. We should take a page out of our adversary's playbook and actually start to do what they do, which is right now, when I was in the agency, the promotions were done by how many spies you recruit. What we can do is you get what you incent. We should flip that and say, how many adversarial spies have you hunted? And that equals a promotion.
All right, so that would go up against certainly the Russians and the Chinese, who we know are recruiting here. Another big part of this.
Also, one thing I would flag is it's not just the Chinese and the Russians. Even intelligence services like the Pakistanis and the Cubans have been extremely effective in this effort and have actually done double agent operations against us. So people should know that it's not just these near peer adversaries like China and Russia. It is often the case some of these other agencies that practice great tradecraft that we have to be able to watch out for.
Scary when you think you're getting bested by Pakistan
right.
in Cuba. Speaking of Cuba, Havana syndrome has also made it very difficult for the CIA to operate. It's the idea that there's some kind of electromagnetic weapon, microwave weapon being used against U.S. Intelligence officers worldwide. And now the president says he's going to take it a lot more seriously. It should be taken more seriously. Take a listen to a doctor on this issue.
That complained that heard a loud noise and felt some pressure phenomenon. That one individual was the index case. There were many more individuals that started complaining over the course of the next several months.
Now we know of dozens of attacks all over the world. President Biden speaking about this, does this change things for the agency's ability to deal with it?
Well, I think a lot of my friends that are still there needed to hear this, which is I know personally individuals that are suffering from Havana syndrome and actually weren't helped. And at a time, when we have officers that are injured in the line of duty, we have a moral obligation to support them. We also need to let our adversaries know that this kind of attempted attack with plausible deniability isn't going to be tolerated. And so I think the front lines need to hear that the administration is prepared to stand up for them.
It seems as though President Biden said, I'm willing to stand up internally within the United States for you to get the help you need. The external part of holding people responsible, we have yet to hear. Chad, great conversation as always. Thanks for making time tonight.
My pleasure, Leland. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Outrage in one major city. Take a look at this video. There was a decision not to charge the suspects in a fatal gang shootout caught on video. What's the politics involved in putting safety second, maybe? And tonight on News Nation Prime, Missing in America dives into the mysterious disappearance of Lauren Chow. A 30-year-old vanished at the intersection in California's Yucca Valley in June. Her ex-boyfriend says she walked off after they had an argument and hasn't been heard from since. Belongings left behind, a secret compound, and friends who say there is no way she would have willingly left everything behind.
She wouldn't have just walked away from her life. She wouldn't have just evaporated and tried to leave without saying goodbye.
Missing in America and the search for Lauren tonight on News Nation Prime with Marnie Hughes. Chicago's notoriously thin-skinned prosecutor doesn't much like anybody criticizing her, even when she declines to prosecute gang gunmen caught on video. Mayor Lori Lightfoot slammed the decision not to press charges for now against the suspects involved in a shootout last week. Here's video of the shootout. Happened in broad daylight. One gunman was dead. Two of the suspects were wounded. Lightfoot says the decision sends the wrong message, but the state's attorney, Kim Foxx, hit back.
I find myself here today having to respond to a narrative that was given by the mayor yesterday regarding a case that is still under investigation. It was inappropriate. It was wrong.
All right, we bring in someone who spent decades covering Chicago, John Cass, columnist for johncassnews.com. John, in all your years, decades really, Do you ever think you were going to cover a story in which Lori Lightfoot was being accused of being too tough on criminals?
Lori Lightfoot is a lightweight, but she's a prosecutor. As a mayor, as a leader, she's obviously failed and she's lost the city. Kim Foxx, I don't know what to say. Mutual combat. If you're a mutual combatant, we can't charge you. People were shot. People are being shot in the city in every neighborhood, and this is what she comes up with. It's really pathetic.
Well, as you point out, you've attacked Lightfoot before in your columns. Here's what she had to say about it.
We cannot send a message that it's okay and you get a pass, that you shoot up a residence in broad daylight, captured on film, and no consequences will happen for you.
What's Fox's motivation here? Is it about the statistics? Is she want to be seen as not hard on crime? Is it about not having a case that she thinks she might lose? What's her motivation in this?
Fox's motivation is to get reelected and to take care of her fundraisers and donors. Lightfoot's motivation, she knows that she's going to have to go through Kim Fox's protector, the boss of Cook County politics, Democratic politics, Tony Preckwinkle. And so she knows it's going to be tough if she wants to run. And at the same time, the Obama Rahm Emanuel machine is bringing forth a new candidate that they're rolling out daily with gushing praise from the media. His name is Arnie, the White Shadow Duncan.
Yeah, we'll talk about Arnie Duncan next time you come on. It's a great place to leave it. Amazing how Lori Lightfoot's tune has changed. John, thank you. We'll read about it in your next column.
Thank you. She endorsed Fox, remember? She endorsed her.
Yeah, good point. Let's talk to you soon.
Thank you.
I'm like, well, I don't know when the last time I filled out my census was, but if they make you choose a race, she's like, what are you going to put? I go, well, both. She's like, well, you can't. She goes, well, what about Barack Obama chose black and he's biracial? I'm like, well, congratulations to the president. That's his thing. I go, I think that's fascinating considering his black dad was nowhere to be found, but his white mom and grandma raised him. But hey, you do you. I'm going to do me.
But doing her got her in trouble. That was one of the controversial comments made by ESPN anchor Sage Steele, who's been taken off the air. As a result, she also made comments on sexism and vaccine mandates while a guest on Jay Cutler's podcast last week. Steele has since apologized. It appears as though the damage is done. Bob Woodson with us, founder and president of the Woodson Center, former civil rights activist. I guess you can't say anything, or the mouse who she works for in Disney Inc. will come for you.
Yeah, this is a part of a consistent pattern of people who are supposed to be advocating for diversity, as long as it stays within the narrow confines of their ideological understanding. But they won't tolerate it. And you see this in spades with the federal government now trying to accuse protesting parents at school boards of being terrorists and silencing. And in fact, the Loudoun County School Board in Virginia just declared that any school official that dissents from the teaching of critical race theory will be fired. And so I think Sage Steele is just another victim of this scourge that we have occurring in the country, where dissent and when they say diversity, they really do not mean diversity.
Well, they certainly don't mean diversity of thought, especially when it comes to vaccines. Take a listen to Sage on vaccines.
Sick. And it's scary to me in many ways. But I have a job that I love, and frankly, a job that I need. But again, I love it. I just, I'm not surprised it got to this point, especially with Disney. I mean, a global company.
Why is Disney so scared of a woman of color who thinks differently?
Why is Disney and the whole industry in corporate America is being intimidated and insisting that contracts be determined by whether or not the vendor is signed off on some kind of equity agreement. This is widespread. It's even adversely affecting the military. The academies are being required to read books that denigrates the country's values. And so I just think this pollution is occurring, spreading throughout the country, and it must be checked, and we must confront it.
Well, you have confronted lots of real issues in your time, sir, and with great moral courage when you were younger, and it continues still today. We're honored to have you, Mr. Woodson. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I just want to say that I'm going to change this by becoming a certified racial exorcist. I can exempt all guilty white people for racism and slavery.
All right.
Just change things.
Thanks. We'll be back. Always good to see you, sir. We'll be right back.
지금 이 자리에 계신 여러분들은 모두 감당할 수 없는 빚을 지고 삶의 벼랑 끝에 서 계신 분들입니다. 게임에 참가를 원하지 않는 분은 지금 말씀해 주시길 바랍니다.
All right, that is the trailer for The Squid Games, which is Netflix's newest show, huge hit show. The one thing that the trailer did not tell you is that if you lose in these games, they're a little bit like recess games, right? Red light, green light, dodgeball, etc. You die. Mancow is with us now, who has seen all of the Squid Games. It's the top film on Netflix ever. Am I missing something?
No, I must have misunderstood you.
Okay.
My understanding was that children were playing games with squid, that they were taking squids with baseball bats and hitting them, and that's why I thought I was here tonight. This is the waste of perfectly good calamari. Look, if you don't know, people watching, what are they talking about? Everybody's going to be talking to them about this. Everywhere I go, this show, Squid Games, it's you're right, it's high.
Are you a little upset that of all of the stunts you thought about on your radio show, you didn't think of the Squid Games?
I did, actually. Are you kidding? Baseball with instead of a ball with squids? Absolutely. I think we did that. No, look, this show it's people that really love cinema.
It's dark, though, right?
It's very dark. It's very bloodthirsty. It's like Epstein Island, but they kill each other. There's some creepiness. It does make a comment, I think, on what's going on in some of Asia with the organ harvesting, which is a statement that I appreciated. But look, it's uber violent. What I was going to say is cinema fans love Korean cinema, South Korean cinema. These guys have been ahead of us for years. Parasite, of course, got a lot of attention. You're shrugging. I'm telling you, brother, they are putting out great stuff.
It's just not my field, so that's why we have somebody like you.
There's a guy who looks like Kylo Ren, and of course, it's kind of like Kylo Ren hosting the Hunger Games. But, of course, the Hunger Games was stolen from another Asian masterpiece called Battle Royale. So there's nothing new here. By the way, what you're seeing right now, after you see that, you can stop watching. Honestly, red light, green light, the first episode, it doesn't get better.
It just continues.
It continues. You know what Hollywood can't do? We can do violent. Everyone can do violent. But, brother, we can't do Bambi or Chitty Chitty Bang Bang or Willy Wonka. We can't do sweetness anymore. Brutal killing is what they want to push on us, and you get lots of it in the Squid Games.
The Squid Games, Mancow says we only need to watch the first episode, which I might do tonight, and then come back and report. Good to see you, my friend, as always.
You'll get it. After the first episode, you got it. Well, you don't need to watch anymore.
It might take me 2 episodes because pop culture's lost on me, but we'll do it and report back. Mancow, thank you.
Thank you.
Something that is never lost on Dan Abrams is just about everything in life. Dan Abrams next.